Now, see, y'all thought I forgot to record for the Champ U BBQ weekend, and I'm here to tell you that, listen, it might not be Thursday to get this video out, but we're going to get it out today, Friday, guys. I have been slammed with planning wedding stuff, getting things to the dry cleaner. So go ahead and help me out by hitting that like and hitting that subscribe button, jumping down in the comments below, and let me know what your guys' thoughts are around the Champ U BBQ weekend and who you guys think could be committed by the, I guess, end of June. We're coming up to the end of June. So, end of June, going into July. But saying that this weekend is important for Oklahoma, I think is an understatement because this is an extremely important weekend for the University of Oklahoma and the staff, as you're not only getting key 5-star targets on campus, but you're getting blue chip prospects from all over the country at every position on campus. And three of the guys that you thought you would have here, and Sammy Brown, I don't believe Traore is going to be here because he committed to Penn State, and Easton Baker, who ended up committing to Illinois, you all believe that they're not going to be there because, well, they've ended up committing elsewhere. But the Oklahoma Sooners has other targets at those positions, and I think they're going to potentially be just fine. Now, we got to start off with probably the hottest name here at the Champ U BBQ this weekend, one that Oklahoma fans will tell you left and right is a must-land prospect, and he is. And that's going to be the 6'4", 280-pound defensive lineman David Stone. So a number 10 prospect in the country, I believe number 6 or number 5 in the 247 composite rankings, the number 2 defensive lineman right behind Williams Nwaneri, another prospect that Oklahoma feels like they kind of have to land. And the reason being is your defensive line has not been good over the past couple of years. It's just been okay. And it's not because you don't have talented guys, but you have talented guys mixed in with guys that probably shouldn't be starting on the defensive line with the University of Oklahoma. And if you go out there and you land a David Stone, a Williams Nwaneri, a Nigel Smith, a Danny Okoye, a Jay-Sean Rosh, a Jaden Jackson, along with the pieces that you currently have at the University of Oklahoma that could be returning, then you're looking at a defensive line that is going to be potentially SEC ready. But you have to look at it and go, OU's losing Stripling. They're losing Hicks. They're losing Trace Ford, Rondell Bothroyd. They're losing Isaiah Coe. Like, there are pieces to this team that will not be on their next season. So not only is the defensive line just important to recruit at a high level because, well, it's not been your strong point, it's important because you're losing guys in that department. So you want to be able to turn around and replace that talent that you are leaving with most coveted talent across the country. I guess we're going to say most coveted, right? Highly coveted talent across the country. And again, Williams Nwaneri from Lee Summit North, currently ranked the number 2 overall player in the country, according to 247 in their composite rankings. Almost wondering, could he take over Dylan Raiola? David Stone, literally, if he's not number 1, he's number 2 right behind Nwaneri. So you've got David Stone on campus this weekend, but he's not the only defensive line prospect that you have on campus. You've got the 5-star defensive lineman Dominic McKinley from Lafayette, Louisiana, who currently, I don't believe, has an official visit currently set up with LSU. And a lot of people believe, hey, that's where he's going to end up going because he's a Louisiana kid. I'll tell you this, I think Oklahoma's in a little bit better position for McKinley than people believe. One of the things that's important to McKinley is the faith, right? And what's the staff? This staff is really good. And I think Ty mentioned this over at Around the Table Sports, but they're really good at managing, maintaining, and creating relationships. But the culture around Oklahoma fits, I think, what Dominic McKinley and his background is looking for. What's one thing that you see is important to Brent Venables, Todd Bates, and the staff? It's their faith. You see them talk about it all the time. You see the tweets. You see them talk about it. And it's important to, I think, really Oklahoma athletics in general. I mean, you look at the softball girls, and they're profound in it. That's all they talk about. So Dominic McKinley, although people like me and other people who will tell you, oh, Oklahoma might be in a good spot, we're not going to put any predictions in for McKinley because, well, that would just be stupid right now. We need to see how this recruitment's going to fly out because if LSU gives him and gets that spot for an official visit over Alabama, then you imagine LSU is probably the front runner at that point. But watch out, Oklahoma might sneakily be a lead prospect in this recruitment. But looking at some other guys that are maybe not 4 stars, you got Joseph Jonah Ajonye, the 4-star defensive lineman, top 50 player in the country, who I think a lot of us right now believe will end up at Georgia because, well, Georgia lost Sammy Brown. You have Dominic Riddick on flip watch to Alabama, and Georgia's going to want a 5-star linebacker. And if they can get a Justin Williams, who is also teammates with Joseph Jonah Ajonye at Conroe, Texas, then that also puts you in the hunt for a top-tier defensive lineman, which for Georgia, you'll never turn down one of those guys. Then you've got Nigel Smith, a guy that we have for so long predicted and talked about, hey, this guy is going to be a Sooner. And although it seems like Ohio State is probably the biggest roadblock in your way, you're having to fight off Larry Johnson and Jim Knowles and the staff out there at Ohio State, you feel good about where you're at. And although we might tell you Ohio State's the leader because they had the official visit first, after this weekend, I think it could be a clear tell sign of where Oklahoma sits with Nigel Smith because they could easily regain that lead. And then you look at some of the edge prospects. You've got Zina Yumio Azulu, the 6'4", 221-pound edge rusher out of Allen, Texas, former teammates with Michael Hawkins and a specific 5-star tight end in 2025, Devon Mitchell. You heard me right. Now, some guys would have told you that maybe Oklahoma wasn't in the race. I will tell you, I thought Oklahoma was in this race the whole time just because of those relationships in and of themselves. If Oklahoma got Michael Hawkins, I believe they could have been not maybe a front runner for Zena, but really dang close. And so you look at what Oklahoma could land in Zina Yumio Azulu. It's not just Zena. Maybe it's also his brother, Nito, who plays at the University of Texas, who's probably your biggest competition right now in this recruitment. So if you land Zena, you potentially land a prospect on the offensive line that's experienced, and you're going to need experience next year because you're losing potentially for sure 4, maybe 5 offensive linemen this year. One just could leave early, and Tyler Guyton to the NFL draft. So that's what I look at. Okay, Zina Yumio Zulu, really good project. Then you got Jay Sean Ross, who, if you follow me on Twitter, you follow everybody else on Twitter, you know that Jay Sean Ross seems to be trending in the direction of going to the University of Oklahoma. A talented prospect from Kansas City, Missouri. Probably a must-land prospect for Oklahoma at that position just because you want to be able to recruit the Missouri and Kansas areas really well. And Jay Sean Ross really could just be that dude on the outside for this defensive line class that could just be so good for Oklahoma. So, yes, I'm high on Jay Sean Ross, and so should you. You've got Wyatt Gilmore coming up, the 3-star edge rusher, 6'4", 245 pounds from Rogers, Minnesota. That one could be a battle where Oklahoma could beat out Clemson, get a nice edge rusher. Then I look at the 5-star Terry Bousset, who probably in all indications, guys, let's be honest, the 5-star athlete probably will end up at Texas A&M or Texas. But getting him on campus and getting yourselves to have a shot with this guy, I like it. I like where Oklahoma's trending there. Then you look at the running backs, right? Because right now we don't have a running back committed in this class. So you previously had Xavier Robinson on campus for the official visits. I'm sure you guys have seen Parker Thune flip his crystal balls or his feature cast, and I think you've seen other crystal balls flow in. So it looks like that recruitment is trending back in Oklahoma's direction. But you've also got, though, the likes of 4-star, borderline 5-star Taylor Tatum out of Longview, Texas, and Caden Durham, the 4-star out of Duncanville, Texas. And if you're Oklahoma and you land that trio where Xavier Robinson probably is going to get an opportunity to play more of the halfback role, but You look at Taylor Tatum and Caden Durham, those are two explosive guys that can completely add to the talent that you have amassed into that running back room. Because here's the thing, you're going to have portal entries at every position. It's just how it is. So you've got to be able to recruit well enough to prepare yourself in case you have something like that happen. Getting Taylor Tatum and Caden Durham, I think it just does that. But if you watch Ty over at Around the Table Sports, he brought up a good point. Caden Durham wants to potentially run track, and you're having to fight LSU in this battle. I'm telling you, that could definitely be a key factor into Oklahoma not getting Caden Durham. But then you look at some of the wide receivers. You got Zion Kearney, a guy that is currently committed to the University of Oklahoma. Hey, it does not hurt to have a guy like Zion Kearney on campus to potentially talk to Terry Bousset and really try to help recruit and get this class going. But you've also got your other committed wide receiver, KJ Daniels, which really, those are the only wide receivers you got on campus. So interesting to see exactly what happens there for Oklahoma, because if you land Terry Bousset, don't necessarily have to get anybody else. But what is the theme for this weekend for Oklahoma? It's obviously trenches. They're looking to build in the trenches. We talked about those defensive line prospects. We're going to shift to the offensive line because they've got four-star offensive tackle Bennett Warren from Sugar Land, Texas, who, yes, in all indications, is trending towards Michigan. And yes, I have talked to him. Michigan is the clear-cut leader for Bennett Warren. But Oklahoma and Bill Bedenbaugh can definitely make a noise. They can make noise in this recruitment. And if Oklahoma can land a guy like Bennett Warren, the 6'7.5", 330-pound offensive tackle, you're in prime position to help start to replace some of these guys that could be potentially leaving this class. Now, you've also got Max Anderson from Frisco, Texas on campus. I like him more to Tennessee. That's kind of where you see it trending right now. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love him at Oklahoma, but I see him more trending to Tennessee at the moment. Now, Michigan's in this race as well, but if Oklahoma can get a guy like Max Anderson to shut it down because, well, hey, we would love for you to be a part of this class, but waiting might not be in your best option because we've had a bunch of guys on campus and we know that this offensive line class is potentially about to start shutting it down because QB Michael Hawkins, I guarantee you, has been in the ears of these offensive linemen. Actually, I know he's been in the ears. Now, additionally, you're getting a visit from the four-star offensive lineman Daniel Cruz from North Richland Hills, Texas. You believe that's going to be an Oklahoma and Texas battle. He just recently announced his top four, his final four, and Oklahoma was in there. Good news there. Not getting the last visit, though. So you really got to make a really good impression so that when he goes to all these other places, hey, you know what? You're at the top of his list. Additionally, you're going to have your committed offensive tackle prospect at 6'7", 275 pounds, Isaiah Autry. Now, looking at what's going on for Jay Valai and Brandon Hall, hey, they've got some recruits here as well. Obviously, they're going to have their committed safety in Jaden Hardy. You believe they will probably be some sort of recruiting in Terry Bousset as well because Bousset can really just play anywhere. Additionally, you're going to have guys like James Nesta on campus. Now, this one's not necessarily a Valai or Brandon Hall role, but he is a four-star linebacker. You're having to fight North Carolina and Miami, but you're getting the last official visit, so maybe you can shut this recruitment down. As far as it looks, though, you got Michael Boganowski, where you're hearing, yes, he's going to play safety, so that would be a Brandon Hall recruitment, maybe a little bit of Ted Roof in there. For Oklahoma, you've got guys like Michael Patterson McDonald. You've got Justin Denson Jr. Yes, Oklahoma is in recruitments for plenty of cornerbacks and safeties in this class. Now, last week, Jay Valai had his share of guys on campus. He had Eli Bowen. He had Devon Jordan. He had Kobe Black. He's doing his thing. Just let him do his thing, okay? But if you look at what Oklahoma could potentially come out with this weekend, it's the final visit for Samaj Jones, the 3-star quarterback out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Maybe you get a commitment from a guy like Andy Bass, because maybe Andy Bass doesn't want to lose that spot to, well, a Samaj Jones, even though I feel like for Andy Bass, you can find a spot anywhere on this team for him. Oklahoma has an opportunity to make a splash on the recruiting trail this weekend. And if you're a Sooner fan just like me, I think that's what you expect. You expect that after this massive recruiting weekend, they're going to go out and potentially position themselves with some guys to start landing some of these commitments. Maybe like a James Nesta or a Michael Boganowski. Yeah, they might not be the 5-star guys, which, hint, hint, I still think you potentially land David Stone here pretty quickly because, well, it seems like this recruitment might start to be wrapping up. Now, after this week, you have a midweek visitor in Ty Anthony Smith coming to Oklahoma on June 19th. He will be at USC this weekend, and then right after the Oklahoma official visit, he'll be going to Texas. He recently announced Oklahoma in his top 5, and hey, he announced that he wants to get this done before the football season starts. So keep a lookout and an eye on that one. The 4-star linebacker, 6'1", 205 pounds out of Jasper, Texas, will be on at Oklahoma starting on Monday the 19th as well. We'll get you guys some update on that one later in the week. But guys, I want to hear from you. Go ahead, jump down in the comments. Let me know what your thoughts are. Ultimately, what do you guys think is going to end up happening with the University of Oklahoma's class? How much momentum do you guys think they pick up on the recruiting trail after the Champ U BBQ weekend?